Hello my beautiful little unicorns and welcome back to my channel. If this is the first time that I've been given the pleasure to welcome you onto my channel, I'm Vanessa and I and welcome to the fam. As most of you know, I upload your weekly reading on each weekend in order to prepare you for your upcoming week. So today I have 4 groups prepared for you and I would like you to pick one of these 4 groups intuitively. You guys know I care immensely about all my little unicorns and I want to make sure that you guys are always prepared for each week of the year. So I unfailingly upload weekly predictions. If you're new to my channel and you don't want to miss out on this, make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell in order to get notified each weekend when your weekly prediction is up. So you guys, the 4 groups are as follows. We have the orange calcite, we have the orchid calcite, we have the Shiva lingam, as well as the smoky quartz. But you guys, the timestamps will be down below in the description box, and I also typically go and post them in the comment section in each video. So even if you're watching from your mobile device, you can click your corresponding timestamp and fast forward to your reading. For any of you who cannot make up their mind as to which group you would like to choose, just relax, take a deep breath. Know that there's no pressure here. If you feel drawn to multiple groups and you just cannot make up your mind, then feel free to tune into multiple groups. And you know why? Because sometimes you need a little more guidance. Sometimes your personal reading is in fact a prediction of multiple groups, and I wouldn't want you to miss out on vital information for your upcoming week. So this is a judgment-free zone, and do not forget that. So yeah, you guys, there isn't really that much more to say. I like to get straight into the videos so I can spend more time in the individual readings. So I'm going to be starting off with the first group, which corresponds to the orange calcite. Hello group number 1 and welcome to your reading. So you chose the orange calcite. So group number 1, the orange calcite is a really revitalizing stone that gives you your zest back, which leads me to think that maybe you feel a little bit depleted or tired, but let's move into your reading to figure out exactly what's going on for you next week. So first and foremost, we have rebirth. So in the rebirth, I definitely see a new chapter beginning for you. I definitely see a new time where you can tank up fresh energy. And that is one thing that I feel like you need. I feel like you need a complete energy exchange or sort of like a complete transformation of what is in your body. And by that, I mean like if you could transform all of the blood in your body right now and put in fresh blood, fresh cells, everything just in a very cleansed sort of form. That is one thing that I see you needing. So obviously that is not possible. I just wanted to give you guys an example of what I mean. But what is possible is for you to detox. What is possible is for you to make sure that you're feeding your body really good nutrients and that you're getting all of the vitamins and minerals that you need. So look into that group number 1, as I feel like that is something that you truly need in the upcoming week. So then we have ritual as well as Watchtower of the North. So first and foremost, I want to speak to you about the Watchtower of the North. Group number 1, in the Watchtower of the North, one thing that I see is, as already spoken about in the rebirth, is the fact that you need a time out. You need a little bit of time to just relax, maybe sleep, and maybe just actually eat a little more. I know that pigging out sometimes with your diet can make you feel like, oh, you're getting all the nutrients that you need, but I want you to really look at what it is that you're craving and to work on those cravings. If you notice that you've really been craving sugar, then try to replace the unhealthy sugars that you have been having with healthier versions of sugar. Another thing in the Watchtower of the North that I see is sort of like preparing for the winter months. So maybe you have not gotten your clothes out yet for the winter months. Maybe you're sort of still really behind and stuck in summer, but now it's time to move on. I see that next week you're truly going to realize that, okay, there is a new chapter that is on the horizon. There's something else going on. I have to start preparing for winter time, Christmas, etc., and start to get my head in that space. And I know it can seem really crazy, especially when the year has gone by so quickly and you just can't believe that there are only 2 more months left. I know, crazy, right? But you still need to keep in mind that things have to be done, and it's best for you to be prepared for that. Then in ritual, I see that it would be beneficial for you to perform a little ritual, to perform a little something that makes you manifest. And with ritual, that is what I mean, manifestation. You know, take one of your favorite crystals, put it on like a little spot in your house that is your personal altar. Maybe put a photo of you being happy, smiling, in a good mood, and just be thankful for everything that's in your life. Say things that show that you're thankful, as well as wish for things that you would like to manifest into your life. I see that next week is a beneficial week for you to be doing so. But I want to move further into your reading with my tattoo tarot to figure out a little more of your upcoming week. Then we have the Lovers. So in the Lovers, I see sort of like a deep love connection. I see a connection with another human being. So this is an intimate relationship. This is a relationship that maybe is just going to be forming or just sort of deepening. Another thing about the Lovers is that it's easy to sort of get into conflict. That is one thing that I want to point out to you. So if you feel like you need space from somebody who is close to you, then take that desired space. Group number one, don't let it result in an argument. Then we have the Four of Wands. So in the Four of Wands, I see a time where you have to celebrate, where maybe there's a party next week, or it's somebody's birthday, somebody's anniversary. Maybe there is sort of like a birth on the horizon where you're able to just let loose and have a good time. So in correlation to the ritual, I want you to also celebrate when you're able to successfully follow through with a ritual, because it's not always easy to take the time to actually sit down and manifest, because manifestation is not something that just instantly happens. Sometimes it can take days or weeks or even months. So gratification can take a little bit of time. So anytime you do something that has delayed gratification, be it manifesting, working out, just doing something that is actually healthy for you, but where the results are coming at a later point, make sure that you make yourself feel proud of yourself. Make sure that you celebrate that, because that is a win and that shows a lot of discipline within you. Then in the Three of Wands, I see something new coming up next week. I see sort of like a new idea. So this idea might be someone else's idea. This does not have to be your idea, but it's just going to give you like a new outlook and a new light when it comes to how you see things in this world. So maybe you're going to figure out how your clothes are actually made, or how your food is actually made. And if you want a really good documentary tip on that, there is a series on Netflix. I think it's called something about food. What was it? The Truth About Food. I think that's what it was called. And that is something that you could look into that will just give you a completely new worldview and will change how you do things. So for instance, for me, I try and make sure that I buy local products where I'm causing as least possible harm to the environment. But obviously that is something really personal that you need to decide, group number one. Then in the Emperor, you have to plan ahead, okay? You have to be strategic. One thing about the next week is that there is the possibility to plan for the future, but you actually need to step up and make those plans and be strategic. And in correlation to the Watchtower of the North, I definitely feel like this has a lot to do with the end of the year. Maybe right now you know roughly what you want to do, but you're not 100% sure. And what would truly be helpful would be for you to actually sit down and make that plan. So sit down, mind map, draw out all of the ideas that you have, and land on a result. Don't just tell yourself, oh, I'm gonna do it later. Actually come to a solution as to what you want to do for the upcoming months of this year. Then we have the Six of Swords. And the Six of Swords, you know, the ship has sailed, literally. I see that there's something that you may have been trying to communicate that, like, the ship has just sailed, the person is not listening, your advice is not getting anywhere. They may be sort of saying like, oh yeah, I get what you mean, but they don't actually get what you mean, or they're not actually trying to get what you mean. And sometimes in those moments, it's just so important for you to know when to let it rest and when to just give the person space, because there's no point in you using your valuable time and energy in order to try and convince somebody about something that they don't want to be convinced about, or they're not open to listening to at all. Then last but not least, we have action as well as receive. So one thing that I want to talk to you about in receive is the fact that receiving is something very feminine, which leads me to think that maybe your feminine energies have not been quite as balanced as they should be. So we all have feminine energy within us, whether we identify as males or females. We have a little bit of both male and female energy. And I want you to know that receiving is something that is of the female energy. So whether it's a compliment, whether it's help, whether it's just somebody giving you advice, be open to receiving it. I see that you have to believe that you're worthy of the abundance of being able to receive. And that way a gift that you have desired will be coming to you very soon. And in action, you need to know that now is the time to move forward and take action. You have to take inspired action towards your dreams as well as move forward confidently. So while next week is a week where I do want you to prepare for the upcoming months, maybe get out, your winter clothes, your winter gear, maybe start switching out the recipes that you've been making at home, and maybe from salads to soup, etc. While I do want you to prepare for that and also take time to recuperate and regain your strength, I want you to also act when it comes to your feminine energy. Make sure that you act on receiving. And I know it sounds really weird to say act on receiving because you're not doing anything, you're receiving. But if you're somebody who does not like receiving compliments or help because it makes you kind of feel almost bad, then this is something that actually takes action from you. It takes a lot out of you to allow this to happen. And it says a lot about you wanting to receive in a very gracious way. So that is one thing that I would like you to focus on next week, group number 1. So this is the reading that I received for you. I hope that you enjoyed it and found it insightful and that you feel just a little more prepared for your upcoming week. If you do feel that way, make sure that you let me know down below in the comment section, as well as give this video a big old thumbs up, and I will see you in one of my upcoming readings. Hello, group number 2, and welcome to your reading. So you chose the Orchid Calcite. Group number 2, I want to get straight into your reading about your upcoming week. So let's see what we have. We have air. One thing that I see in air is instinctively that you may be of an air sign, or you may have to do with an air sign a lot in the upcoming week. Either way, I want you to focus on your imagination as well as your creativity. So if you feel like that is an area of your life where you haven't been putting as much time into as you would like to, then make a little more time for that in the upcoming week. Another thing about imagination is that it might be helpful with your projects. It might be helpful with any venture that you have going on right now, group number 2. So keep that in mind. The answer does not always lie in what we already know, and what we already know would work out well. Sometimes the answer lies in a completely different space and field that you may have never even considered. Then we have the Witch's Cottage. So in the Witch's Cottage, one thing that I see is that security is a feeling that you're craving next week. So maybe you're sort of craving security when it comes to your relationships, maybe your personal life. I have the feeling that maybe financially it is something that you really, really aspire to gain more security. But another thing that I want you to know is that security is a feeling that you can give yourself. So in correlation to imagination, allow yourself to not freak out too much. One thing about air signs is that a lot of things happen mentally that have not transpired into the world yet, but you're already freaking out, you're already stressing out. And that is one sort of difficulty that I see for you next week, but it can be overcome if you just see the Witch's Cottage kind of as your living space, as your safe zone, and you make your safe zone just that safe and like a safety net where you feel like nothing can harm you, nothing can touch you, and you can solely focus on building that financial abundance or building that emotional safety with another person without having to worry too much about anxiety or panic attacks, any such types of distractions. Then moving further into reading, we have the Witch. So in the Witch, one thing that I see is healing abilities, and that is sometimes one thing that you have to start doing for yourself, is healing yourself. And one thing about witches is that they like to use things in the nature, things out of the nature. So focus on using very holistic approaches to any ailments or difficulties that you may be facing. So if you have a hard time when it comes to, for instance, digestion, if you have a hard time when it comes to pain management, try and see if you can find a holistic sort of approach that would help you instead of running straight to a medicine that is man-made, if you know what I mean. So allow the energy of the earth to fill you with its goodness and to properly guide you into the direction that is probably the healthiest for your body. So obviously I am not a medical practitioner. You have to be careful when it comes to that, especially if you have a condition that is already existing, but at the same time, don't knock any of these holistic approaches, because you would be surprised at how much you can do just with your mental power, as well as the power of, say, herbs and different ingredients of the earth. So then we have austere. One thing that I see is that you need to take a little bit of time alone, okay? We have incubation here, and in incubation, one thing that I see is just this feeling of needing to almost put yourself into a little like human ball and just take time to maybe even cry, maybe just think, maybe just be completely alone and in silence with yourself. So in incubation, one thing that is a little bit of a difficulty is that you may spiral into a depressive state. So if depression is something that runs in your family or that you've been dealing with, be careful, group number 2, because next week there may be situations that trigger these emotions to just boil back up to the surface. Then we have the moon. So in the moon, I want you to tune into your body and your body's natural cycles. I see in the moon that maybe you've been neglecting those, or maybe they just haven't been functioning the way they usually do. So if there's confusion in your body, definitely look into alternative healing methods before you go for the heavy drugs, before you go for anything that may have a very severe impact on your mental state as well as your body, because sometimes these remedies that we get prescribed from doctors are so strong, they can have side effects such as depression, which then again, triggers this sort of feeling of needing to be like incubated and away from the world and just alone in your pain. So group number 2, be wary of that. Then in expansion, I see that next week is a great week for you to share your message as well as shine your light. So if you definitely feel like, a depressed sort of down state is something that you're going through or dealing with, speak to somebody about it, share your message, and just show the world that it's nothing to be ashamed of. Obviously, you don't need to go on your Instagram or Facebook and let everybody know that that is what you're dealing with, but speak to the people closest to you and let them know, like, hey, I'm going to try yoga, I'm going to try these herbs or this sort of diet in order to help me before I move to these heavy medicines that are actually making me feel a lot worse. And just let people know that you're focusing on your mental health for a little bit and that they should be understanding. Then in innocence, I want you to know that, it is your right to take time for your mental health. You have to nurture it, that side of you. And one thing that I also want you to do is to just live with this sort of childlike sense of wonder, because when we become adults, sometimes it can be really hard to just let loose and be fun, to have fun, and to see things just through a very innocent sort of lens. So put that lens back on next week and imagine a new reality. In imagination, I want you to give yourself the permission to dream. I want yourself to believe that you have unlimited possibilities, because sometimes when you're emotionally in a difficult place, you can feel stuck or like you cannot move forward, or like life just sort of doesn't have a proper meaning for you, and that can just spiral even further into more severe depressions and into this just feeling of not knowing why you're here or what you're doing. So that is one thing that I want you to look out for, group number 2. I know that your reading is rather like heavy for a weekly reading, but there's a lot going on with you emotionally, and I want you to look out for that and to be prepared for that. So envision a reality where you're happy, where you're thriving. Do not succumb to fears or anxiety about what may happen if, say, your depression takes over, or if, say, you're in a spot where you're not doing well physically, where you're unable to use any medicine to heal you. Know that a lot of things may be going on in your mind mentally that freak you out, but you have to remind yourself that it's just in your head. It has not transpired into reality, and just thinking those thoughts can actually pull those scenarios into your reality instead of pushing them away, because that's what you actually want. But remember that thoughts turn into actions, turn into habits, and then just become your life. So moving further into your reading, we have the Seven of Wands. One thing that I see in the Seven of Wands is that you know exactly what to do, group number 2. You know what you need to do. You know in your heart what is right in the situation next week that you're going through personally. And I just want you to let your heart win as well as your instinct. Don't allow anybody to tell you what to do. And last but not least, I see that that is something that will bring abundance in the earthly realms. We have the Ten of Pentacles, which is just a very strong indication of what we spoke about earlier, the fact that you may be worried about your health or your financial situation. And one thing that I see is financial bliss. I see bliss where your health is in a good spot, where you feel healthy and nourished and like you have that zest for life, and also a situation where you're not so worried about your finances. So overall, letting your heart and your instinct just take over, letting those feelings be in the driver's seat, letting that inner divine knowing guide you is what you need to do, group number 2, in order to have a successful upcoming week and upcoming months. So I do truly hope that you enjoyed this reading and found it insightful. If you did, make sure that you let me know and down in the comment section, and I will see you in one of my upcoming videos. Hello, group number 3, and welcome to your reading. So you chose the Shiva Lingam. Group number 3, I want to get straight into your reading about what's going on for you next week. So we have familiar. One thing that I see for you, group number 3 in familiar, is that for whatever reason you need protection next week. Maybe you are sort of drained emotionally, spiritually. Maybe when it comes to love, you're just going through a rough patch in your personal life, and somebody very close to you is going to be there to have your back, to watch over you, and to see the things that you are unable to see next week due to your personal sort of exhaustion and personal stuff that you're going through, and that will strengthen your relationship and just aid you a lot. Then we have the Witch. So in the Witch, one thing that I see is that healing is at the forefront. Healing is something that I want you to focus on. Healing yourself emotionally, physically, also looking into different natural remedies that you can find, and maybe even doing a few meditation / manifestation sessions. That is one thing that I feel would be really beneficial for you. Another thing in the Witch is just this feeling of secrecy, is just this feeling of this allegiance that you have with this person, of this bond that is maybe unspoken, that you two both know that you can always count on each other. I definitely feel like this relationship in your life is going to be strengthened next week, and you're going to have a lot of sort of secrets with each other that only you know, and that you're probably going to have for the rest of your life. So then in the Witch's Cottage, one thing that I see is that your security is very important. So group number 3, insecurity, I want you to keep in mind that sometimes we don't know how close we are to something happening. So whether that's sitting in your car, whether that's crossing the street, or just going for a walk with your dog, maybe going out for a party, you never know how close you truly are to danger until often danger is right in front of you or it's already too late. So be extra attentive, be extra careful while you're driving next week. Be extra careful if you go out, say with your drink, make sure that you never leave it out of sight, and also be take extra precautions, say if you go on walks with your dog, you know, check what is legal for you to carry with you. Maybe bring a little like alarm type thing with you. So it's like this little device that you pull this little stick out. It's almost like a grenade, and it makes really loud noise. And that is one thing that I would recommend for you to carry with you, maybe even pepper spray, just a way how you can defend yourself in the case of anything happening. So group number 3, I don't want to scare you by any means, but I do want you to keep in mind that life is really fragile, and it's better to be safe than sorry is basically the message that I see you receiving. Then in dance, one thing that I see here is that dancing is one thing that will get your vibes to where they're at a very high sort of frequency and vibration. It's one thing that will allow you to manifest your dreams. So if you've been wanting to go out to dance for a long time, try and plan that in for next week. And if you just like to listen to music and rock out at home, and that's one thing that you haven't done in such a long time, and maybe you didn't even notice that you missed that, then make time for that next week. In dance, I want you to just free your body, let loose, and have a good time. Then we have prosperity. So there's a gift of money on its way for you next week. Maybe you'll find money in, say, a coat jacket or your purse, just somewhere around your house or on the street that is going to be a surprise that you didn't expect. But this could also be a gift of money as an extra income that you didn't know was yours to be, but all of a sudden it's starting to come in. So by that, I mean, for instance, if you started a Etsy shop, or there's just a side venture that you've been doing, I see that next week all of a sudden you may have your first sale, or things may just be going in an exciting direction of prosperity. And if you're just working your 9 to 5 and you have not found any money, say in your pocket or on the street by the end of next week, know that prosperity is something that can also have to do with how you manage your finances. So one way how you can find money is through micromanaging your finances, because if you don't properly know exactly where you're spending your money and where it's going, then you don't know where you can, for instance, dig up extra money. So if you have been neglecting your finances, it will be very hard for extra money and prosperity and abundance to come into your life. So make sure that you sort out your finances first, especially if you're manifesting for financial abundance. Those manifestations will not be as powerful until you have sorted out exactly how much is coming in every month, where it's being spent, until you've really analyzed what is going on with your money and you have a close relationship to it. That needs to happen first before money can come abundantly into your life, group number 3. Then we have action. So it is the perfect time next week to take action when it comes to these things. You know, just sort your life out. If you have a pile of mail or just papers that you know need to be sorted out, or you have bills that need to be paid, you just need to file them away, or maybe even get back to your lawyer because of some lawsuit or just something that has been going on that you need some legal advice for. Maybe also your taxes, maybe you haven't done those. Make sure that you make time for that. I see that next week is a week where you have to take action, and if you don't, there may be negative repercussions that come for you. Then in the Ace of Pentacles, there is definitely a new beginning on the horizon when it comes to your finances, but you have to do all that we spoke about, group number 3. You cannot neglect that. You can't skip that step. But if you have already done that step, or that is a step that you do each month anyways, or each week you keep track of your finances, then know that prosperity is on the horizon for you. And it is also a good week to start a new business venture or to create a new side of your business. So if you have an online shop, maybe create a blog. If you have a blog, maybe create an online shop or start thinking about it. If you work a 9 to 5 and you are really looking into, for instance, selling your art online, start to take those product pics and just put them up and see what happens. Then we have the 5 of Swords. In the 5 of Swords, I see you missing somebody. I see emotions here that are almost a little bit sad, where there's despair, where there's longing for love and somebody to pay more attention to you and to just understand you a lot more. So about you, group number 3, I kind of feel like you're somebody who is misunderstood, maybe somebody who has never been all that popular, somebody who has never had many friends, and next week you're going to kind of feel like lonely or deserted, or almost like you're sad that you don't have a lot of friends, or that it seems like this lifetime is not meant to be a lifetime where you know a lot of people or have a lot of people close to you. But I don't want you to feel bad about that, group number 3. I want you to keep in mind that 4 quarters are worth so much more than 100 pennies. I mean, it results to the same thing, but it's not the same. You'd rather have 4 people that you can properly count on in your life and be grateful for that, than to have 100 pennies, meaning 100 people who you can't count on for anything and that make you feel alone when you need them the most. Kind of like that feeling of being alone in a crowd of people. You don't want that, group number 3. So be thankful for who is in your life and what already exists. And then we have the 5 of Cups. So in the 5 of Cups, again, emotionally, it's going to be a difficult week for you, group number 3. And I don't want to sugarcoat it or lie to you or just say something else. I definitely see you having this feeling of like distance between maybe you and somebody who is a love interest. And it's a time where you need emotional support. So look to those who are closest to you. Look to, for instance, your sister, your mom, and maybe your best friend, to talk to them in order to allow them to cheer you up. Because when you get yourself into a sort of sad state of mind, it can be so easy to fall into a downward spiral, and we don't want that, group number 3. Last but not least, in the Wheel of Fortune, I see that you have control over how this goes. So the Wheel of Fortune is a major arcana card, which usually indicates the fact that you don't have control over the situation. But with the Wheel of Fortune specifically, I definitely see that you do have a lot more control than usual next week. Next week, you control whether you allow these emotions to take over that leave you feeling lonely and like you're maybe not good enough. You control whether you allow yourself to feel safe. You control whether you allow yourself to take action when it comes to your finances. So know that so many amazing things can come from you taking control, but so many things can also happen if you let negativity take over. So see it like this. If you take care of your finances next week, all of a sudden emotionally you'll be doing better, which then all of a sudden will result in your relationships having an amazing time next week and just that closeness coming back. But if you don't manage your finances, you're going to be stressed out. You're going to know that you've procrastinated. You're going to know that you should have done that, which then is going to make you grumpy with your relationships, with your friends and family, which then in love is not going to give you the vibration to attract positive things that have to do with love. So just 2 comparisons for you. You decide how next week goes overall, and I want you to make the right decision for yourself, group number 3. So this is the reading that I received for you. I truly hope that you found it helpful and insightful. If you did, make sure that you let me know down in the comment section, and I will see you in one of my upcoming videos. Hello, group number 4, and welcome to your reading. So you chose the Smoky Quartz. So in general, all of the darker quartzes are more of sort of protective, detoxifying energies, but I want you to know that in correlation to your upcoming week, this may have everything to do with letting go. Let's see what's going on. We have fire. So in fire, I see that passion, desire, those are things that may be arising for you. Those are the emotions that you may be dealing with, but you may also be of a fire sign or be dealing closely with a fire sign, which brings out a very passionate side of you. And passion can really easily also turn to arguments or fights, and I want you to be aware of that so that you can avoid any heated discussions or heated arguments. Hence, probably also why you chose the Smoky Quartz, a more protective stone, in order to just protect you from negativity and anything that steals your energy without you having a positive outcome from it. So next up, we have the Wand as well as tarot cards. So one thing that I see for you next week, group number 4, is the fact that tarot cards can give you a lot of guidance. So tune into more readings. I have a lot of readings on my channel. There's so many other amazing readers here on YouTube. Try and get a good mixture of different types of vibes and readings, because they will allow you to see life from a different perspective productive. If you're not so comfortable with tarot cards, and I know some of you tune into these readings in secret and you don't really always feel comfortable watching these because you're worried about what other people may think, and I completely understand that. My channel is a judgment-free zone. Then try and maybe read a book about spirituality for extra guidance, or maybe even secretly get yourself your first tarot or oracle deck. Usually always comes with a guidebook that you can study on the go and around other people without being worried that they're going to see you watching, say, a tarot video or with tarot cards, if it's something that you feel like you still want to keep to yourself. Then in the wand, I see that just focusing on what you intend to do next week. I feel like your goal setting may have been a little weak, group number 4. If you feel like honestly your goal setting hasn't been where you know it needs to be, something has to change, group number 4. You cannot reach your goals if you know, okay, I roughly want to do this, but you don't write it down, you don't manifest, you don't properly work on it each and every day. It's going to be hard to get anywhere. So I want you to bring back your focus. I want you to point all of your energy in the direction of your dreams. So write down exactly what you want to accomplish in the next 3 months, or say in the next year. Write it on a piece of paper. This is so important. Make sure that you reread it each day. Make sure that you put positive affirmations on that sheet. Write it in the present moment. For instance, I am a successful YouTuber. I am a successful lawyer. I am wealthy. I have love in my life. I am getting married. Whatever it is that you would like to accomplish, write it down in the present tense and use that to motivate yourself. Be your personal cheerleader, group number 4. Then in anger, as I already mentioned, in fire, there may be a situation where you feel provoked, or where you feel like somebody is provoking you or just pushing you to where you get angry. They know exactly what buttons to push and they're in the mood to push those. But I want you to use a safe space to express that anger. So one thing that I like to do when I feel angry is I journal. I write down exactly why I feel angry, what emotions sort of come up apart from anger, trying to differentiate those, and just write down what can I do against it? How can I use this energy for something more positive than just using it on anger and then it being wasted? You see what I mean, group number 4? So take time to journal if that is something that you feel might help you, or just take deep breaths if you feel like you're being provoked or pushed into a situation that you're not happy in. And anger expresses itself in so many different ways. Some of us yell, some of us kick and scream, some of us start crying. But I want you to know that however you express anger, there is oftentimes a way to use that energy for something more productive than just you purely expressing anger in that very moment. Then we have the goddess. So in the goddess, one thing that I see is that you have to honor your divine feminine energy more. You have to see your inner beauty. I feel like maybe you've been focusing so much on your outer beauty or your flaws that you feel like you have, that you've forgotten to love every part of you, and the biggest part of you, which is what is in here, you know, your thoughts, your brain, like the person that you are, the soul that you are, the person that inhibits this shell that is your body. Because when the person that is in that shell is happy and satisfied, then it truly reflects on the outside. Like every cell of your body can feel happiness, can feel you being not anxious and just cool with life and proud of yourself, and it radiates. It ends up in you looking really glowy and happy and healthy. So that is one thing that I see you needing to focus on next week, group number 4. For whatever reason, you may have just been letting yourself feel a little sluggish or just not as beautiful as you truly are. Then we have the Queen of Cups. So in the Queen of Cups, if you see yourself in the Queen of Cups, know that next week is a week where you have to take over your emotions. You have to make sure that you're not overreacting. As I said, there may be somebody pushing your buttons or a situation that makes you mad. Don't overreact. Make sure that you channel that energy into something that is actually useful. Then in the 8 of Swords, one thing that I see for you, group group number 4 next week is that you may have to make a decision without being able to feel like you've had enough time to make that decision. So mentally, something is stressing you out. You know, there's a deadline coming up or something that you just need to do. And I see that you cannot move forward without making this decision. So stop procrastinating. If you, for instance, need to finally bring up a topic of conversation with somebody where, you know, it's been boiling for a long time and the relationship has been strained, bring it up. If you know that you've been having to properly manifest and do a certain thing to come closer to your goal, but you've been procrastinating it out of fear or lack of confidence, I see that you can't move forward without doing it. And you just need to work against any of those feelings that are holding you back in order to get to the next stage. Then in the moon, focus on your intuition. So your intuition usually knows what is best. And also one thing that I have as a recommendation for you is if you have a really big task that you don't know how to tackle, start with doing like the smallest possible action that will allow you to actually start the task. So for instance, you have to write a paper, you haven't tackled it, you know it needs to be done. Try to just open Word, if that's where you're writing it on. Try to just open Keynote for your presentation. Just open up the app. That is the easiest thing that you can do. It takes less than 10 seconds and you've already started. That way you can break the task down into a lot of little things. Then maybe, you know, half an hour later, if it's really daunting, you start by just like say the title. So you write down the title, you start, you know, putting in the date, your name, whatever needs to go on there, and all of a sudden you're going to find yourself finding these tasks less scary, less daunting, and you're going to be able to get into that workflow without just constantly procrastinating. So just a little tip from me for group number 4. Then in the Magician, like I said, you may have to be a little creative as to how you can overcome this inertia that's going on, as to how you can overcome this just feeling of being in the same spot, but at the same time not being brave enough to do anything about it. You may have to do a little bit of mental work. You may have to work on yourself physically, meaning working out first thing in the morning just to get yourself in the right headset. You may also have to just emotionally strengthen yourself, maybe also sever ties with somebody who brings negativity into your life. There's so many different factors that play into your life that can make a big difference. So just know next week that it may be a little confusing, you may be all over the place, but at the end of the day, you know, you have to move forward. No matter how you do it, there has to be a step taken. Then last but not least, in the 5 of Pentacles, I see a little bit of this feeling where you're afraid for your finances, where you're afraid how things are going to go when it comes, say, to your time or your health. One thing that I feel that may make you mad is maybe because you're not quite where you wanted to be financially, or when it comes to your health, your body, your physical appearance. And that may cause you to harm yourself. And harming yourself does not always mean something as brutal as taking a knife and stabbing yourself or anything like that. Self-harm starts with you, for instance, eating junk, knowing that junk is not good for you. Self-harm starts with you not being as active as you need to be. Self-harm starts with procrastinating to the point where you're so stressed out that your work cannot be as good as it could have been if you would have just done it in the first place. So be very aware of the different stages of self-harm. Just because you're not physically harming yourself, maybe it's something that you're struggling with. I'm just trying to explain to you that there are various different forms, and all forms are to be taken seriously because all of them are prohibiting you from moving forward and being the best version of yourself. So call out that side of you that is self-sabotaging or self-harming, and just let yourself know that this is not going to happen. Let yourself know that you're going to move forward regardless, and you have a desire, a fire within you to actually create your dream life, to actually make sure that you succeed when it comes to your goals. And you will do it with the guidance that you find through tarot cards, through books, through podcasts, through people who you know have your back, and you're going to push forward regardless of what this little thing called fear may try to instill within your head. So group number 4, this is the reading that I received for you. I truly hope that you enjoyed it and that you found it insightful. If you did, let me know down in the comment section, and I will see you in my next video.